I think that given the fact that you have to trade for Rodgers, so you have to give up picks. Now, you'd also have to trade for Lamar, but Lamar's younger and better. And given the salary, to me, if we were to go back 3 weeks to the start of before any of the quarterback carousel, I would have ranked the Jets' options as follows. Lamar, number one. Oh, no. Now, he's the most expensive, but he's the youngest and the best by a mile. Derek Carr, two.
Ooh.
Purely because you don't have to give up any draft capital, and it's less on your salary cap. This one, God, I'm glad Brew's not here. I think I would have Jimmy G 3.
Holy cow.
Purely because I think Jimmy G's like going to come in the mid-20s. I think he's going to cost less than Geno, and again, no draft picks.
You're not talking turnovers, you're talking
No,
salary.
I'm talking about salary. And it's all about surplus value, right? It's all about, can you generate more than you're costing me so I can end up, and if you're not as good of a player, with the money I save, can I then acquire better players around it? That's the whole name of the game. And then I'd have Rodgers fourth. And again, it's not because he's not one of the all-time greats. This is kind of a cousin of the Draymond conversation we had. Not the same, but you can be a Hall of Famer and an icon and also not close to that anymore. And then when you add to it, James, what I would want to know if I'm the Jets is, okay, so if we trade for you, when's the first time you're actually going to shake Garrett Wilson's hand? Because if it's going to be at mandatory minicamp, I don't know if that's going to work. Because I remember when you sat with us and remember the time when Christian Watson didn't read the hand signal and Aaron got upset and you explained to us about how that worked. I think you need a lot of time with these guys early if you're going to try to hit the ground running and make a run in the tough AFC. And while it's not Aaron's obligation to show up to the voluntary stuff, if he's going to be on my team, I'm going to want him there when it's a whole new team and a whole new everything. So it's not the decision I would make if I were the Jets, but it sure seems like the decision they are making.
Yeah, I mean, if it's in order, if we're talking about the quarterbacks that you should attack in order, absolutely. Everybody knows how I feel about Aaron Rodgers. Thinks he's the baddest man on the planet to ever throw the football.
Sure.
And I'm biased a little bit because I played with him, but when you're talking about this, Lamar Jackson absolutely should be numero uno. You're going to plug him into your offense with a really good defense for the next 10 years. And you're going to have opportunities to punch your ticket to the playoffs, and who knows how many Super Bowls you're going to get to with Lamar Jackson. Number two would have been Derek Carr as well, because you do not have to trade for him. You can offer him a decent contract. You don't got to give up no draft capital. You can build your team around Derek Carr for the next 3-4 years. And then it would have been Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
Right? Aaron Rodgers would have been my number three. And that is why he would have been my number three, is because he's leaving a situation and coming into a day near identical situation. You have young players on the outside that you're going to have to get chemistry with. PFF got the offensive line second worst in football, right? So you're leaving a solid offensive line in Green Bay who can protect you. Then you come into them, and they can't protect you. You have a running back in the backfield coming off of an ACL injury. Yep. You have two very good running backs in Green Bay. You have a solid defense in Green Bay. They finished 7th in scoring. So for me, leaving Green Bay and coming to the Jets, and I know we're talking about the Jets, are they making the right decision? Yes, they are shooting their shot at a quarterback because they believe they're a quarterback away from competing for a championship. But as for Aaron Rodgers, this makes no sense for you to go to the Jets and not stay at home with the Green Bay Packers, where you have built some chemistry with Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. You have a solid offensive line. You have some good capital in the draft. You have a two-headed monster at running back, and your defense finished 7th in scoring.
Why do you think he wants to leave?
To be honest with you, I don't think it's him.
That they're just done with him.
Yes, I don't think because Aaron Rodgers ain't came out and said, hey, man, I want out. I don't think it's him. I think it's something with the organization where they're at least thinking it's time to move on.
Turn the page. Okay.
Sauce Gardner famously took a souvenir from Lambeau, and yesterday he burned it. Okay. Ceremony to lure Rodgers to the Jets. Take a listen. He also talked about that there was going to be a package deal, which I thought was interesting. Where it's like maybe Rodgers is coming with someone. I don't know who, but maybe it's like a Brady, Antonio Brown, Gronk situation. Are the Jets Super Bowl contenders? You can say no.
I mean, no,
That's the
I mean,
answer.
I don't think so.
That's correct.
You know what I mean? And I'm a believer in Aaron Rodgers. I seen him do some special stuff on the football field. But I think there's too many holes in this team for Aaron Rodgers just to come in and solve and say you're going to the Super Bowl and you got to go through Patty and you got to go through Joe Burrow and you got to go through Josh Allen. You're possibly going to have to go through Lamar Jackson. I do not think this is a Super Bowl caliber team, even with Aaron Rodgers on the roster. I think the Jets have a long way to go. They got holes to fill in their team.
My concern would be everyone's like, well, you've got a great defense. Probably you have a great defense, but the best offenses, if you keep the same quarterback and coach, are pretty consistent year to year. Defense fluctuates wildly year to year.
It does. And
go ahead.
Just to piggyback off that, I was on a team with a really good defense. Charles Woodson, Clay Matthews, B.J. Raji, Al Harris, Nick Collins, Tramon Williams. You could keep going. A.J. Hawk. You could keep going down the line.
Podcast.
We had a dominant defense, right? But numbers didn't say so because we were scoring 35, 40 points as an offense, right? So you're going to get different offenses if your offense is putting up points. The Jets seen a lot of balanced offense. People were running the ball on them a lot, so it wasn't just Patty Mahomes saying, oh, shoot, I got to go over here and score 30 on the Jets. That's not what you're saying. Zach Wilson, Mike White was that quarterback. You thinking going in there, I got to score 17 points to win the ball game. So now that you get Aaron in there or you get Lamar in there and you start scoring points, this defense definitely could look different.
And again, I love the personnel. Sauce, I think, is legitimately in the discussion already for best corner. Quinnen's awesome. Quinnen's brother, Quincy. I like the personnel. I think Saleh knows how to coach defense, but it still fluctuates. And then you talk about what is the clearly tougher of the two conferences and a very tough division. So can I interest you in something?
Oh, sure.
A little NFL title pie. I know it's not a Tuesday.
This is
the AFC. This is the AFC. Odds to win the AFC. What? Odds to win the AFC. I'm giving the Chiefs a 60% chance. I'm giving the Bengals 15.
That's red and orange. That's a real. Yeah. Asking a lot from your TV set.
Look at that monitor, doofus, right there, and it looks fine.
Could have been striped.
10% for the Prince, 5% for the back-to-back defending seventh-place finishing Buffalo Bills. Then the Chargers, Dolphins, Ravens, 4-3-2. I give the Jets with Aaron 1%. I give him a shot.
It's Sacramento.
The Sacramento Kings, exactly. Light the beam. I give him a shot.
You're just all out on Buffalo, huh?
That's 5%. That's something. Who also seems to be all out on Buffalo? Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, what's going on?
Who's like, I don't know what's happened to us. I don't know what's wrong. I got some ideas. Who's also all out on Buffalo? Leslie Frazier, who's like, I'm walking away from the game for a year. I'm so traumatized. So don't worry. So my point is, Wilds, sorry your Patriots didn't make the playoffs.
Well, is there slices of a percent? Like partial ownership of
No,
the
there's not.
team?
No, that's it. That's the whole thing. You couldn't dismiss them because maybe Aaron has a throwback season to a couple seasons ago. Mm-hmm. But to me, it would be, I think the Jets don't even think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I think Jets are like, can we make round 2? You know what I mean?
But what's the point of that? Then you're going to get, a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers?
I think the point of it is that there is for certain teams value. And we're going to have 17 Sundays that our fans are excited about. We're going to be viable. You know what I mean? We're going to have a shot. We're going to get in the tournament and see what happens. I think
that's the plan. Get us a quarterback, punch our ticket to the tournament.
And see what the hell happens.
Okay, yeah, maybe. If you don't have any plans in mid-June, why don't you consider heading over to the Psychedelic Science Conference at the Colorado Convention Center, where a featured speaker will be Aaron Rodgers. Nick? Yeah. In one of your oldest man takes we've ever heard.
This was not an old man take. Go ahead. Finish.
At 10 a.m., you have an issue with this.
No.
Even though you're usually well-read on these issues.
I did not say I have an issue with it. I said this is the NFL is run by people who I have read stories about a team dropped a guy on their draft board because he's too well-read. They're like, I don't know how much he loves football. We hear stories about guys who it's like, this guy has diverse interests, and we hate that. And it's the NFL. It is run by, not necessarily politically, probably that too, but very conservative thinkers. Yeah. And for your quarterback to be headlining a drug convention.
Not headlining.
Okay, speaking a featured speaker at a drug convention, it strikes me as, I think it would raise some eyebrows for, I don't know, man.
Woody Johnson in the pharmaceutical industry, you're really diving into
and
it.
maybe it's because it's psychedelics and because there is, kind of growing science supporting psychedelics is like a healing thing.
If it was year 2, year 3, and you're a young player, you better believe it. A lot of people, I mean, they do it to Kyler. You don't care about football and all that.
Speaking at a Call of Duty convention.
You know what I mean? So, they do it to Kyler. So for me, in year 20, going into year 20, I'm not really worried about what he has going on, but if he was a young player, you better believe it. That is how they talk.
Okay, this is why that's such an old man tape. I printed out the
I'm the old man. You're printing out news articles to read.
I didn't want to read it on my computer.
Ahead. Yeah.
But it is a legit conference with lots like neuroscience updates from John Hopkins, introduction to psychedelic law.
I understand that.
Neuroscience updates
Hold
from
on a
UC
second.
Berkeley. We're acting like it's just Timothy Leary out in the woods.
I'm acting like we have known for 10, 15 years at a minimum that marijuana has legitimate therapeutic reasons for stress, anxiety, and certainly for pain, right? And football players had to fight tooth and nail to be allowed to use just weed, even when it was being legalized across the country, because the league is on stuff like this usually a few years behind. Like, we were starting to legalize gambling when Tony Romo still wasn't allowed to do like a fantasy football convention, because the league is usually not on the cutting edge when it comes to this stuff. And the fact that just because, Nicole Kidman has a TV show about how the psychedelics can help you heal and all these things, and it's becoming very much more in the mainstream now than it was 5 years ago, doesn't mean that I think the NFL is like, if you need to microdose mushrooms to get over some past trauma, we're all for it in the offseason. I don't think that's where most of these front offices are.
I wasn't familiar with the Nicole Kidman show.
Oh, really? 9 Perfect Strangers? Quite good.
Oh, I didn't know it was about psychedelics.
Yeah. Oh, spoiler alert. Sorry. They're all tripping in that show. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.